I don't know what we're going to do. We usually open the windows in the spring and like to let in fresh air, but we're not going to be able to do that now with this noise, and it's constant, It just keeps going and going.
From a Michigan woman speaking about the noise she deals with every day living next to one of these new data centers. But farther east in Maine, state lawmakers passed a bill earlier this week prohibiting the construction of new large data centers for at least 1 year. Now, this bill would ban new data centers with at least 20 megawatts of electricity demand until at least October of 2027. In the meantime, a council would be created to study the impact of large data centers and review concerns like that constant buzzing noise we just heard. But it's unclear if Governor Janet Mills will sign it. If she does, it will be the first statewide ban on data center construction in the country. Now we want to discuss this issue with two lawmakers who are part of this debate. Democratic State Representative Melanie Sachs sponsored the bill. You see her at the top right corner of your screen. And Republican State Senator Matt Harrington is opposed to it. He's on the bottom right. We appreciate you both joining us here this morning for an issue that is being debated across the country. So, Representative Sachs, let's start with you. Why put a halt to any new construction?
Well, good morning, Errol, and thanks so much for having me this morning. When the Governor Mills had an AI task force that came out with a report in the fall of 2025 that detailed that not only Mainers are quite concerned about data centers, but they need careful and comprehensive planning in order to make sure the regulatory framework can meet the moment. So my bill does that, which has a temporary limitation while we get our regulatory framework in place.
So, Senator Harrington, what are your main concerns about this bill? Is the noise a factor?
I think for me, the biggest concern is the economic impact this bill will have. I think there was a more comprehensive path forward that would have allowed certain projects to move forward, under strict scrutiny to make sure that they weren't going to have, a negative impact on the electricity grid, negative impact on the environment or water resources. And this bill just completely, kills that economic opportunity for 18 months. And I think in a state like Maine, where recent GDP growth has been zero, the job outlook is zero new jobs created through 2029. I think we really have to look at our economy when looking at proposals like this.
So the economic potential damage appears to be one of the main factors for you. So Representative Sachs, what kind of work would this council be able to do? What kind of questions can it answer?
Right. And I think that's a really important point, Errol, is that data centers aren't like every other economic opportunity. They have wide-ranging impacts beyond just the locality where they're centered. They have economic impacts, of course, in terms of use of natural resources, whether it's emissions, as you heard in your story beforehand, of light, noise, greenhouse gases, water usage. You also have very little return, as we've seen in other use cases from other states, that the economic benefits just don't materialize. And the proposal that my good friend, Senator Harrington, was talking about was written by the same lobbyist that's representing the Sanford project that he's talking about. So we really want this particular bill, which had bipartisan support in the House and Senate, to go forward to make sure that the regulatory framework actually is going to work for the people of Maine.
What's fascinating is this is a hot button issue, but there are so many unanswered questions for so many people, including the experts, who are making big decisions. For you, State Senator, what are Mainers telling you and your colleagues about data centers specifically? Because the sell is that they may have a long-term benefit for the community as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I think people have a right to be scrutinous of this idea, and I think our project, our amendment to the bill did everything that Representative Sachs' amendment did. It just provided a pathway forward, with strict scrutiny by the Public Utilities Commission to move forward. And I think, at least in the case of the project in my district, this was projected to cut property taxes in half. And I've been in the legislature for 11 years, and the number one thing I've heard from my constituents over and over again is the crushing impact of property taxes. So when the city manager says, a data center like proposed here could cut property taxes in half, that's enormous.
Can I ask you both also just about safety and potential attacks? We've seen in some parts of the country people taking violent action against data centers. Is that something you're concerned about?
Well, I can say for me, I think there are a lot of risks around data centers if we don't do them thoughtfully. And I think thousands of people, you were asking Earl about what Mainers think, thousands of people have contacted our committee. There is a petition even in, my good friend Senator Harrington's own district to try and stop the project because of all of the concerns that you're talking about, whether it's environmental impact, ratepayer impact, or even security concerns.
And I think this should be handled at the local level, as you just described. You know, my community is circulating a petition, and I think that's the way this should be handled, is at the local level, not with one statewide, one-size-fits-all moratorium.
It's fascinating. Watch this being discussed and debated across the country. Senator Matt Harrington and Representative Melanie Sachs, thank you for your time today. Hopefully Maine will stay beautiful and scenic as well as economically viable. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.